Welcome back to Black and Blue Garage. Today I'm starting a project that deserves its own mini-series in itself. So this is part one of the Dana 44 High Pinion axle build for the 1988 LS Swap Jeep Comanche. Starting from the center of this axle, I'm going to be putting this chromoly spool, which I purchased off of Amazon, and I will post a link below in the description. Connected to that, from Motive Gear, I've got a set of 513. I've also got a full seal and bearing kit for this whole axle. RCV axle shafts, which is probably the most expensive part of this build itself. Now I've read that if you use these axle shafts, you have to upgrade to one of the better worn lockouts. And then in order to connect the axle shafts to the lockouts, you need to buy their very strong gear that goes inside of these lockouts themselves. At the end of the axle shafts, I decided to use the stock knuckle on the driver's side and swap to a Reid Racing knuckle on the passenger side so that I could use the high steering arm and I don't have to trust my own welding. I just bought this high steering arm and I bought it as a pair, which came with everything you need minus some tubing to do a high steer kit in combination with some knuckles on whatever vehicle that you're putting high steering on. All I needed was these studs, the arm, these tapered collars here, and some lock nuts. Now to go inside the knuckles right here, a while ago I ordered these ball joint eliminators from a Facebook company called Ball Joint Eliminators, and so I've never put any of this together, but that's the adventure that we're gonna have if you follow this build series. And of course, connected to the knuckles, I just bought the brake stuff that I didn't have to begin with. And then moving to the front of the axle, I ordered this diff cover, which is made out of 1/4-inch plate. Now I've already set up the steering for the front of this truck. I may have to change a couple of things now that I'm going to be using a high steer arm, but it shouldn't be that much of an adjustment. And I may even get that much adjustment out of the heim joints that I built this with. So that's a lot of fancy parts. Let's start by removing the tires, the wheels, and the axle off the front of this truck. Ridiculous. You're a ridiculous person. All right, so I drilled out my Reid Racing knuckle to 3/4 inch so that I could accept the 3/4 inch bolt and Heim joints. I started auging out this steering hitman arm, and then my drill overheated for the very first time. I've never done that before, and so, but I am making progress. I'm almost through there. And so when I put the axle back on and I get my gearbox back drilled, tapped for steering assist, I'll be able to throw this on. I might do a little modification to this, which would be exciting. As far as the axle goes, I was able to get these inner C gussets fabricated, welded on for the most part. I might make one more pass if I clean it up and I find that there isn't any cracks in it. I did preheat with a little bit of MAP gas, and then I wrapped it up with that blanket. This is a 1/2 inch thick. Just went with a single inner C gusset. Talk about this PSC steering assist ram. The reason that I carved up this panhard mount is because I wanted this ram to be as far to the passenger side as possible, and that's only because even though I may not use the full length of it, I wanted my other end to miss this differential. When your steering knuckles turn all the way one way, your tie rod is really close to here, so there's not a whole lot of room between your diff cover and your tie rod for all this mess here. So doing this trick here, I moved this bevel of this bracket up basically, welded it back in, makes this bracket kind of unstable in this direction, but as you know, you don't need a whole lot of strength in this direction as you do going this way, because your panhard mount is going to be pushing, or rather your axle is going to be pushing on your panhard mount in this direction really, really hard. So I'm going to focus on having some gussets on either side that weld this to the axle, and then also to give me a little more strength forward and back, I'm going to connect the panhard mount to the inner C gusset that we welded on today. Aside from that, this axle is almost complete. All I've got to do is weld everything up, use my needle scaler and a wire brush to clean everything up and get it painted. And clean the inside out really, really good, because my buddy Zach is coming out to teach me how to do the gears, the 513 gears with the spool and the shims, and to get that all figured out. I'm a diesel mechanic. I don't really work on automotive stuff. I've kind of half rebuilt 4L60E once, but that's about as intense for automotive mechanicking that I've ever done. So I've never done gears. I've never rebuilt an engine per se. I've swapped the block out before. I need some help. I'm new at this kind of stuff. I'm not an engineer. I'm just tinkering out here. I want to build some weird stuff. On a side note, I did just recently pick up a 1526 Massey Ferguson. I got the forks, I got the bucket, I got the box blade back there. I already had to tighten up a couple of bolts and reset one of the rear tires, but this thing is working great. I was able to fix all my roads and make a new one and start moving some dirt out here. So that's gonna do it for part 1 of this video, because I am waiting for lower ball joints, which I didn't know that I needed. This axle was supposed to have been rebuilt when I bought it, but when I pulled the lower ball joints out, they seem really loose. There's no play in them. They're just all floppy. So I'm gonna go buy some new ones from O'Reilly's tomorrow. I'm gonna pick up some other things from town, and then next Saturday I'll have enough content to do a part 2 and the final part to this axle, which is having it all put together and reassembled back on the truck. And then in about a month, because I've ordered that Tom Woods drive shaft, I'll be able to put some fluids in this, finish the brakes up, and drive it around. So in about a month and a half or 6 videos from now, I might be driving this. So join me next Saturday for part 2 of this video. God bless, have a good weekend, and always remember that it's 100% not perfect. Oh yes, and last month my dad told me that he misses the whole bell gimmick. So if you haven't pushed the notification bell, go ahead and do that.